Hi! So, I'm gonna show you guys how I do the embroidery thing. You see this blouse I just posted? I am gonna show how I do the embroidery. So this is the one I did today. But then I'm gonna show you this old one. That is just like a linen shirt. So here's the thing, I'm gonna tell you everything and then I'll try to show on the machine, okay? That's why I'm like sideways, so I can like put the machine, the camera towards my machine, all right? So basically what, this is called darning, right? Originally it's darning because it's like a free motion way to do embroidery. And you can do in any machine. It doesn't need to be an embroidery machine, doesn't need to be anything fancy. Basically your machine just needs to be either have the way to lower the feed dogs, which I'm gonna show you, or you have like a cover for the feed dogs. The feed dogs are those little things below, under your foot, you know, the sewing foot, where the presser foot, right? Underneath there's in Brazil we call that teeth, because it looks like tooth and it pulls the fabric as you sew. So that's the thing, you don't want it to pull. You want it to, when you do free motion, it's free motion. So there's no really, the machine doesn't do any motion. You're doing the motion, okay? That's the idea. Usually machines have that feature for people who do quilting, because they like to do those drawings. You know, when you see like quilts with those drawings, that's how people do it. And also darning, which is, you know, jeans, when you like use up your jeans, make holes, you can darn it. So you do like a bunch of stitches over it, and that's why it's cool to be free, because you can just do back and forth, all directions, right? That's why it's a free motion, okay? And then there's two ways that I do that. I do it freehand or traced it, right? So usually I do freehand. I think freehand is cooler because the drawing just comes out like, at least for me, when you do freehand drawing, it just looks more free, like more, how can I say? You know, it has more life to it than if you trace it. But if you cannot draw to save your life, I'm not good at drawing, to be honest, but for some reason when I'm doing this, it works. And so you can trace it, okay? If you want to trace it, I'll give you a tip at the end, the best way to trace it, all right? And then there's the two examples I have here. This is the one I did freehand drawing, I didn't trace it, okay? And then the shirt I did today, I did trace it because I was testing and I wanted to make sure, because here's the thing, when I'm gonna do a whole thing, I rather be safe, because trust me, I've ruined pieces trying to do a drawing and then it was weird and then it doesn't work. So this one I just tried to do, you know, in a safe way, and that's how, that's why I traced it, okay? So we're gonna talk about both. But first I'm gonna show you the free motion because it's easier. Let me put my shirts here. And then, so what do you need, right, to do that? You need a few things. I started this with almost nothing. It's just a sewing machine, really, and it can be a regular one. And so you need fabric, obviously. And then the embroidery hoop, that's very important because you want the fabric that you're embroidering on to be very stretched. You don't want it to be like clunky and weird. And then you need the thread. And so let's talk about the thread, right? It's better if you have an embroidery thread, okay? But I usually do with regular thread, and because there's two things. When you use embroidery thread, it goes smoothly and the machine likes it, but at the same time it jams more because it's too smooth. So you have always to test it, what your machine likes better. And it's really, I'm serious, like machines like certain things and other things they don't like. And each machine has its own, you know, things that they like. So you have always to test with your own machine, okay? I've tested, I have both. And also the other thing is like, at least for me, the thread that I have, the embroidery thread I have is shiny. I don't like shiny much. I like dull, you know, more like matte. colors. So I don't like using much the embroidery thread. I rather just the regular polyester thread, okay? But you should test anyway. Okay, the hoop, the thread, and then there's one thing that it took me a while to realize that's better, and I recommend you to try. It's the right needle, and look, like an embroidery needle. This one is the best brand I've ever used, Schmetz, and it's proper for embroidery, and the machine will like better, it will work better, the fabric, you know, it will jam less, and you're gonna be happier. All right, and then the last thing, no, not the last thing, but one thing that you needed or not, if you don't have it, is okay. It's the darning foot. A lot of machines come, you know, the new machines, they're too basic and cheap. They don't come with that foot, but most of the machines come with the foot. That is a darning foot, and it looks like this. Look. Okay, so this, and let me show you, this one came with my brother machine. This is a machine that is a little more expensive, that I've had for many years, like 7 years or something. And it came with this, you know, it's all like fancy and cool. But you can just buy cheap ones. No, don't buy very cheap, because the machine don't like, but you know, just simple, like this one. Let me see if I can take it. Oh no, it's attached there. I'll show you when we're embroidering. It's cheaper, it's not fancy looking like this one. It is just an attachment, and you can add to any machine. Okay, so yeah, I can give a list. So yeah, the foot and the needle. And here's the thing, if you don't have this foot, and if you're on a budget, you don't need to buy the foot. You can just do without the foot. But warning is, it's dangerous, because the thing is, you know, the machine, the free motion is when the machine is stitching without the foot around. It's just the needle going up and down, and you don't want it to hit your finger with that, right? So if you're sewing, if you're embroidering with no foot, this kind of protects your finger or from accidents. It's more likely you're gonna have an accident if you have the no foot. So I recommend you to have the foot. You can find for like $10 on Amazon, eBay, everywhere. But if you want to start today and you're super anxious, I'm like that. So just do without it, okay? For now. And then the last and very important thing is the stabilizer. Stabilizer? Basically, it's like underneath your fabric, you need to have some sort of help to not be, unless it's a very thick fabric, which I've never done in very thick. I mean, I have done in a blazer. And then it's not necessary. But if you're doing on shirts, on cotton, on, you know, fabric that are soft and thin, you want to have a stabilizer. And then there's a bunch of types of stabilizer. Again, if you're on a budget, you don't need to buy a stabilizer. I started with tissue paper. You can just have a piece of tissue paper. I've done a lot with tissue paper, and it works. And then I moved on to a stabilizer, and then I found this one that's amazing. So what's up with this one is, it's you know, it's just a piece of stabilizer that you can buy. There's different widths for it, and this one is, the cool thing about it is a dissolving stabilizer, and you can search for that online. I think I got it on Amazon, and so it's not very cheap. I think it's like $20. But then what happens is, when you use this and you wet the fabric, it will melt away. You know how when you have shirts that have an embroidery, usually has a layer underneath of this kind of material, and it bothers if you're wearing, like, it's not very comfortable. It's kind of strange. At least the old ones. Think about your uniforms that have like some sort of symbol here. There's always this thing underneath. This one will melt, and you don't, you know, it disappears. So I love it. It's really cool. It obviously, it's something that you can you know, put in water, right? If you're embroidering something, you can put it in water, and then it makes sense. If not, just use the regular one. And yeah, so I'm just gonna tell the list. If I don't write the list, here it is the embroidery hoop, the darning foot, the embroidery needle, and the stabilizer. This is basically the things that you need. Let me see if I'm missing something. No, that's it. Okay, so now I'm gonna try to show you how I how I do it, you know, in this machine of mine. You have a darning foot. Plastic, yeah, no, this one I'm using here is plastic. When I finish, I'll show you how it looks like. It is plastic. This is because this brother of mine is kind of fancy. It's an embroidery machine, so it has this to be fancy, but it's not necessary. In fact, I don't like doing free motion on my embroidery machine. I do the free motion on a regular one. It works better. This one is like the Singer Heavy Duty. Look. And it works, it's great, okay? Let me see if I can put the camera towards the machine now. Can I zoom in? Yeah. Okay. So how I do it? I take my hoop, and I took two sheets here, and then I put the large one on the table, and then I cut a piece of the stabilizer, which look, it's almost doesn't fit, but it works. It's not like, you don't need the stabilizer to be super stretched. If it's there, it's good. Okay, so I just cut size that's enough for my hoop, and then I'll place my fabric on top. Oh, first I have to see if it's open enough here. And this is another thing, like, you want to have a good hoop. This one is kind of cheap, so it's not my favorite one. I like the old ones. They have like real wood and they're more strong. Okay, it'll be like that, right? But then I'll put the fabric on top. And just stretch it in there. All right, and then look. It works nice this time. Not every time works like this. So then I tighten a little. And then I'm gonna pull it to stretch even more. I want this fabric to be super stretched. The more stretched, the better result you're gonna get, okay? Yeah, could tie. And see, the old hoops, this thing works better, the screw here. Okay, that's good enough. Then I grab the machine. Let me get my chair, hold on. And so, let's see if you can see. I'm gonna put the machine like that so you can see the foot. See how it's plastic? That's it. All right? And so, what I want to do now is I'm gonna pass, and this is a little tricky every time, depending on the machine as well. I like this one because it has the space between the foot here and the table is a little wider, so it's easier for me to put the hoop underneath. Okay, but sometimes it gets a little tight. For instance, my embroidery machine is a little too tight, and I don't like it. So my goal is to pass it through here, and I just lift the foot, and I make sure my needle is all the way up by turning the wheel here towards me, and then when the needle is on the highest point, I also can push this because there's the foot has this spring, you see? So when you push it up, it opens even more room. So I'm pushing up here, opening room for my hoop to pass through, and that's it. Now it's in there. And then what I want to do is, before I start to stitch, I want to grab the bottom thread. And it's pretty much how you do when you're sewing regularly, but the difference is you want both of the threads to be on the top of the fabric. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this, turn the wheel towards me, and then this is gonna bring the bottom thread up here, and then I have both of them. Look. And then I'm gonna stitch, just put my needle down. lower my foot, and then do a couple stitches. Put my needle down, and then I want to cut, where's my scissors? I want to cut that extra thread, because otherwise that's going to be like a mess. Okay, so I just cut the thread right on the needle, and then I can start stitching. So I just see how my my stitch is not very good. So then I have to see how my you know, my length and my tension is. And usually what I recommend you to do is to read your manual, because each machine has a way to what do you call, the adjustment, the perfect adjustment for darning that also varies according to the fabric. Okay, so it gets a little better, but there might be something wrong with my bobbin, so I have to check. And it's always about trying, testing, okay? And then when you get to work, and then you're good to go. So I'm gonna put my bobbin back there. For instance, yesterday I was doing this and it was like jamming and being weird, and then I had to change the bobbin. I was trying to use a metal bobbin and the machine didn't like it, so I put this the plastic one that's the original that comes with it. Okay, let's see. Same thing, so I'm gonna grab the thread from the bottom, then once I have both of them up here, I put the needle down, lower the needle, lower the foot, and do a couple of stitches. Yeah, see, now it's better. It was my bobbin. And that's why it's cool for you to do a test on a fabric, on a spare piece of fabric, before you stitch your final piece. Okay? Look. All right, so, and the other thing is, try to keep your hoop, you know, the fabric kind of like horizontal. Don't twist it much, you know, just like keep it. And then test it. You can change the thread. You can, you know, do many different things. Let me tell you guys the tip for, if you look, the beautiful drawing I made. No, but you see how this wasn't working, right? And then it got better when I changed the bobbin. So you have to be mindful of your bobbin and every detail. So there's many details of the machine that you have to be patient, basically. Try, and once you get it, then you can, what I do is I'll set up the machine to embroider and then test that fabric and have everything I want to do in that fabric ready. Then I do all at once, because it's always going to take time to find the exact combination of factors that will work for that specific material. So it's good for you to test and do like that. The tip I want to give it to you is if you want to trace it, right? So there's a million ways to trace it, but the easiest one I found is with this pen. And what happens is, so you can just trace with carbon, you know, even carbon paper for fabric, right? That you find everywhere. You can trace it. You can have your ways to trace, but this is a disappearing pen. that you can also find, you can actually find like in, I think even at Walmart you can find Staples, online, everywhere. It's called Friction or something. Okay. And it's awesome because you trace it and then you embroider and then you iron over it, and the ink disappears. So it's very cool, very helpful. What I've done is I'll take a paper for the shirt. I took Xerox. I mean, I took a picture of my phone for magazine pictures, and then I print. Look. And then I go and trace it. And you know how I do it? I put the fabric over like that. The print below, then the fabric on top, and I go against light on my window, actually. When it's sunny outside or it's light, I just put against the light like that, and then I can see through. It's like a light box, right? If you have a light box, you can use a light box. But then trace it on top, because then it's not the negative. Usually when you trace with carbon paper, you have to do the negative. This is just like where I'm going to embroider. And so I trace and then go and embroider it. And then iron over it, and that's it. And then the thing disappears. There is some people I see on the internet that says this pen reappears if it's cold. And I've been testing. I did a test the other day, and it didn't reappear. So I think it's okay. Maybe they changed it. But I love it. I've been using it for a long time. Okay. Do you have any questions? So just be patient and try. And let me know if you make something. Show it to me. I'd love to see it. All right. Thank you for joining. See you next time.